broken wasteland. Come to my fire and place your blood and steel upon my pyre. Oh.
What's going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson and I am your host. Holy hell, this week we have Tomas Ericson from Helvetets from Gothenburg, Sweden. And I know I just said that kind of with the accent. I don't know why I just kind of went into that, but it's all good. So how's everybody doing this week? I'm doing fairly well. Not really much going on in the metal world that I'm interested in right now. Other than that, you know, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because we are now into the beginning of spooky season, as it were, here in the Metal Forge. And we have, you know, the big goddamn metal show that's just around the corner. Another big goddamn metal show this year with Sanhedrin, Ulm, Midnight Hellion, Ice Howl, Treason, Midnight Lounge Crew, Joe Grudge, Idle Throne, Wind Rider. Fucking awesome fucking bands all around. 2 nights, Magbar, $30 for the weekend, no, wait a minute, something like that. I can't remember. I think it's $20 each day, or $25 for the weekend, or $30 for the weekend, something like that. I'll get back to you on that. I should know these things because I'm fucking promoting the show. Put in the description and right bang here on the screen right now, you will get a QR code showing you where you can buy tickets at Eventbrite. So awesomeness. Digging this new setup here in the Metal Forge because I've got this big screen up here in the corner. You know, I might see if I can as I'm on the deal here. Let's turn this around. Let's see what we got. Oh, looky there. And then you've got the big Metal Forge screen and the video feedback. So yeah, total fun stuff here in the Metal Forge as things have changed with the new screen and all of that stuff. With the new open layout here in the room, we're going to be getting some more video guests in person, where it's going to be a similar to the Zoom deal, like a 2-camera setup, but they're going to be across from me. And we're going to have 2 angles going on the entire time. So look forward to that. Joe Grudge will probably be one of the first ones to do that. So, and of course they're playing another big goddamn metal show this year. And I'm looking forward to it. Continue to check out flamekeeper.vip. The interesting thing, you know, we've got it to where it's on the YouTube channel and all of that stuff. Jason this year, I don't believe, is doing a Steel and Stone Fest, but we'll find out for sure. Let me go ahead and find out what we're going to be playing from Helvetets Port in today's episode, because they are totally rad. And coming from the Warlords album, we have Wasteland Warriors. Yeah.
Warriors, warriors, I don't see right now.
All right, metalheads, we are being joined this week from Witchfinder from Helvetets Port. Dude, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I've had a couple of restful days as of late and recovering. Had a good meal just now, so I feel unusually content and relaxed and rested, I must say.
Dude, that is awesome. And and people, people in America are, it's always like the whole fat culture thing, supersize everything. It's got to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
But like the the healing nature of like a good home cooked meal or a good meal in general that you just feel can like that comfort food type thing. There's nothing
yeah,
better than that. It's almost like playing a show where nobody sat down the entire night and they were screaming the entire time.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
That's
the
the thing.
same feeling to me.
Yeah, for the one for the soul and one for the body, and a little bit of both for both, I guess.
For sure. And that's what's awesome. So Helvetic Port is from Gothenburg. Tell everybody, for one, before we get into the band, like, how is Sweden? It's been a while since I've
Um,
had somebody from Sweden on the show.
yeah. Well, do you mean like in general, or when it comes to music and heavy metal?
Just everything, man. I mean, this is like we get the civics lessons here too.
Yeah,
And along with, we talk about the metal scene.
yeah.
So just in general, how are things?
In general, things are, well, I mean, there's a lot of talk right now, as you know, about the situation in the world, and
Very
somehow
much.
I mean, yeah, things are not good generally, maybe, but for me, I'm the kind of person who does not really feel too affected by things that are going on. Just like with the pandemic, I felt like I was just like I always was. My life was didn't look any different really, and so I acknowledge these things that are going around. But if I have to be honest, I am not like that affected by like
Sure.
matters that go on in the world. So like the general like state of Sweden right now, I'm perhaps not the best person to
For
answer.
sure. No, I totally get that.
Yeah,
And you brought up the pandemic and how it really didn't change your life as much,
yeah,
that it kind of looked the same. And in the type of job that I was in during the pandemic, my life didn't change either. I worked the entire time, and because my job was considered a matter of public health. And um yeah, so when all of these people were off and making amazing music, I was working and producing a podcast in the same time, and it's interesting how much content even from the pandemic is still out there
yeah,
that
yeah,
hasn't
definitely.
even
So,
been touched yet, that's like that I've like personally, because there's just so many bands that came together in the wake of the pandemic that you they're like one-offs and two-offs, but yet they had great albums, but they're not ever meant to see the live stage.
yeah, I mean, quite a lot of like collective creative work that was produced around the world during those couple of years, and it would be fun to sort of see some study on it one
Sure.
day.
And what's interesting to me about that as well is there was a point in time where a lot of a lot of those bands that was never supposed to be a live set band became live set bands here in 2024 that It's like, hey, maybe we could get this together and do a small tour, which I absolutely love. And so I guess the point of bringing all of this up is you've been in Helvetes Port since 2001.
Yeah.
So it's a legacy band at this point. We're 23 years old, couple more years and you're ready for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for your induction. Because it's 25 years. And like, so as it stands for 20, just say 25 years, how have you persevered and maintained an entire idea to continue doing what you're doing?
Well, that leads me back to what I was saying. Like, for example, the pandemic, although it didn't affect my personal life much, it did affect the musical life a bit, in that we had just released our previous album then, and like everything about touring after the album like ground to a halt. So we have had a couple of those episodes in our career where things have kind of gone down the drain for one reason or another. So like the pauses between activities have been quite long sometimes. So we have never really had this like intense like career going. So
Sure.
we've had a pretty chill existence during these 23 years. So one thing I can say is that it has not like eroded our like energy and interest, and it has not worn us out like in the slightest. So we are not for lack of like having some pent up energy and like willingness to do our thing. So but it was one point where I felt a little burnt out, though. It was like in the beginning of our career, and then we had a couple of setbacks, like our tour bus being confiscated the first day that we were going to use it and stuff
Oh
like that.
shit.
So then we had kind of, at least I felt like I didn't really feel like doing much after that had gone down.
Sure.
So we
Yeah,
had a
that would
couple of years.
definitely bring down the mood.
Mm.
Uh but that's interesting that you bring that up because you say that you've had a pretty chill career throughout the 23 years and you haven't really been burned out, but it's been a number of years between certain projects, which I do want to look at with the band starting around 2001, um, depending on what the truth is, because I consult Metal Archives. It's like Wikipedia, it's fan edited, so things can be a bit skewed. Uh,
Yeah,
but it does say that the first full length, which is Exodus to Hell, came out in 2009. So right
yeah,
there off the gate, you had 9 years before your first album came out.
yeah,
That's a
yeah. So
long time.
yeah, so it is a bit hard even for me to like pinpoint when the band started, because it started as a one man project by me in 2001, and then I did like record a couple of computer demos and stuff, but there wasn't an additional member until 2003 when we had a drummer, then another guitarist in '05, or a bassist rather, and then a
Okay.
guitarist in '07. So we were not a complete band until 2007, and that's when our full length was recorded, but like mixing and stuff dragged on, so it wasn't released until 2 years later.
And when that happens, how do you feel about, obviously, because there has been from 2009 to 2019 and now to 2024 with Warlords, so obviously there is time between things. So when it comes to that, how do you still stay invigorated about the material? Say in 2019 when you released From Life to Death, but obviously you took some time to write it. I
Yeah.
mean, it was 10 years between albums. So whenever you're doing a thing, do you Do you ever get like you unmarried to the project anymore to where you just don't feel like you want to play it?
Um, Not really. With our previous album, maybe for for at least for some of the material, maybe it was like that because after all, it had gone 10 years, and a lot of it was stuff that was starting to get written a long time ago, and not very many of the songs on From Life to Death were written in like the two
Sure.
years leading up to its release. Most of them were a bit earlier, and um, then maybe I don't think maybe I wasn't as happy with the end result as I am for with this album, for example, and also like when the pandemic came and like made some plans that we had fail, like for touring and stuff. Then that was also a bit of a like a mental setback maybe for the music. So the enthusiasm maybe for the combined wealth of songs on that album was a bit short-lived perhaps, but I do feel for this upcoming album that has still been also quite a lot of years in the making. There I
Sure.
do not feel any fatigue whatsoever. I still like listen to the songs from time to time and feel excited about them, and can't wait to play them live and stuff.
Definitely. And the new album that we're talking about is called Warlords, which is why we're here this week, is to promote Warlords because by the time this is dropping, we'll be a week old at this point because by the Metal Archives, it's coming out on September 6th. Uh, so hell yeah. Talk about Warlords. Talk about the process. How did you where did you start?
Yeah, we've started out from a clean slate this time around. So the previous album where it was some riffs and parts were from the days of Exodus to Hell, basically. Like we kind of wanted to bring together all the amassed material we've had up until that point. But now with this album, we've kind of started from scratch with the songs, and um, what can I say? We worked through the songs quite a lot this time around. We've had 2 rounds of demo recordings for most of the songs before we recorded the album, and um, we in 2018 we had a member change. So the old bass player Inquisitor Philip, he quit, and he used to write maybe a fourth or a fifth of the songs maybe, and
Sure.
this time around I instead wrote like all except 2 songs or 1.5 songs.
Okay, so you picked up the slack actually. So this is really your album for the most part. The vision that you want is what you're putting out.
Yeah, basically.
That's
And
awesome. See, and to be an artist and to get that satisfaction of putting something out where it just sounds so good, it looks so good. I really dig like the Mad Max style album cover that it has. Uh
yeah,
I mean, it totally has this feel of Mad Max to me, and or this outsiders mentality, and I dig that. It almost has like a kind of like a Beyond the Valley of 1984 from the Plasmatics feel too. Just this old like rundown awesomeness.
yeah, that's awesome. We had um, some luck in finding a place outside Göteborg where this guy had all these old military vehicles and wreckages and stuff, so we could borrow some stuff
So
there.
I was gonna ask, how real is the set, like with the barbed wire and the fence, and is it stuff that you all had built and put in the picture, or was it legit you just put your banners up, plugged it in, and just went?
Yeah, the barbed wire, the gate was already there, and the like he had several vehicles that looked super cool, but like many of them were tucked away in positions where they could not be moved, and like of course many of them didn't work either, but somehow we managed to get that truck out from the backyard, like
Yeah, you
with
got that big deuce and a half truck out,
yeah,
and fucking yes. I dig it. I completely enjoy the cover because it just does. It looks so damn rad. And with, you're sitting on the hood and you just have this look of like on your face. It's so great.
yeah, we were thinking that we are warlords, plain and simple to it.
Hell yeah.
We're looking for.
Um, which is totally awesome though, because still being out doing something 23 years later with the same project, that's amazing to me, because there's so many bands that don't get past a demo stage and don't get past a first album stage, or they just fizzle out because life picks up. And to still be out doing something, that's super commendable.
Yeah, and not just doing something. I mean, now that we've existed for so long, one must start to like become aware and like ready for the fact that can afflict many an old band, in that they're kind of just going through the ropes, and
Sure.
they're it doesn't really feel like they are actively invested in their own career or their own output. I mean, you don't have to strive for maximum record sales, but you still have to show some sort of like a burning interest in what you're doing. And I feel that
Oh,
that is lacking in
absolutely.
many bands.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think there's a term for that, where I had seen it. I think it was somebody from, it might have been from Black Dahlia murder, who had said, using the term terminally local. And what that means is like, yeah, you might get the spot at every show where the bigger bands are coming in town to the local mid-sized venue. And yeah, you might get the opening spot for them because you've been around for so long, and everything, and everybody knows who you are. And yeah, you do draw a crowd of an X amount of people, but when it goes to actually going on the road and touring and being that next echelon of band, it's like it's just out of the attainability for
Yeah,
people like that. And so,
yeah,
yeah, I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and I believe that. I mean, where you left off, that they might not make it to that next tier. I feel that also that band in your example, who surely were proficient musicians. I mean, I don't think that matters too much in their case, because the young hungry band that might be worse musicians, I think, and who have a passion for what they're doing, I think they deserve more to attain that next tier.
Sure. No, no, I totally get what you're saying. It's like the matter of becoming complacent in what you're doing, and not being hungry enough because life gets in the way, or maybe you just need extra help and don't know how to ask. That's where in America, I wish we had better artist programs for musicians, but that's like on a whole other, that's on like legislation scale and shit like that. And it's just like it's hard as shit sometimes to be a good touring musician, or even a bad touring musician, just because of the way things are ran,
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure you all have something similar as well, just as like everywhere does. It's all
Yeah.
comes down to bureaucracy and crazy shit. But again, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Warlords, the new album, and what you all have coming up going into the end of 2024 and 2025.
Yep. So when we left off about Warlords, I was talking about the writing process, and yeah, so I think that even though like the other members didn't write as much of the music this time around, their contribution to the sound and like their playing is even more at the maybe forefront, or has helped more than on the previous album, because I think people did such a good job this time around that everyone really contributed in a good way.
Sure. It was something that they could believe in, it feels like.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
that alone makes for a great dynamic on an album.
Yeah,
Is, if you have members that, if even if they didn't write something in it, but they just feel it,
yeah,
then that makes their performance even better.
yeah.
So what do you have coming up for the rest of 2024? Are y'all going to try and get out on the road?
We Yeah, somewhat. There, two of the members in the band like, have recently uh, gotten children, so we are perhaps not set to go on out on tours. So it will be more like single shows here and there.
Sure.
And I guess since the album hasn't hit the shelves yet, we have not had a ton of offers as of yet. So we have a release party booked a week after the release, and then we do not have any more shows for 2024.
Okay.
So we are kind of like setting our sights for more on 2025.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to touring, are you all going to try and stick to Europe, or are you going to try and go to the North America as well? I mean, just wherever offers, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. So because we right now we don't have a booking agency, and we don't kind of none of us really wants to spend time digging around and like contacting people in desperation to play. So we kind of more like waiting for offers to come our way. And I guess, I mean, wherever that might be, if if we don't like lose out on it, it most often sounds good in our ears. And if there would come an opportunity to play in North America, that would be awesome, because we have never played there before. I know it's quite a hassle with maybe getting like work visas and stuff.
Hopefully, yeah, the work visa issue, hopefully by next year with the new presidency and everything, hopefully next year it will be different, because it's supposed to go up in 2025, which I think is terrible, because it's a shitty way to make money based on people making and spending money in your country.
Yeah,
And I don't get that. I don't understand why that's a thing, why it's such a capitalist issue of like,
yeah,
let's double dip on these people. I don't
yeah,
get that. But again, that's not why we're here.
yeah.
But I do want to switch over to the derailed segment. And these are 5 random questions about you as a person. Obviously, music is bound to get brought up because, hey, we're creatures of habit. Musicians are.
Yeah.
So, what is one thing that you value, and why do you value it?
Let's see if I can bring something up that is a bit off the beaten path, maybe. Um, I mean, I gotta have
That's a
something.
that's a rough one. That's gonna take a second, I think.
Yeah. Mm,
Something you value and why you value it. And
yeah.
that could and see that's the thing. This could be anything. This could be anything based on sentimentality or monetarily. Who knows? Just whatever.
Well, something that I truly like value, which ties into my music as well, is like nostalgia and the past and looking back to past things. And
Sure.
like, I'm not sure like what is the big intrinsic value. Maybe some sort of textbook would give a better answer for that, but I do feel like, yeah, you mentioned the word sentimentality, and that's maybe also a part of nostalgia, and those things are very strong in me. I've never really felt, I mean, I think I sensed already when I was 13 or 14 that, yeah, things were a lot better in the past, like when it comes to culture, music, movies, and stuff.
Sure.
And started to feel a bit disillusioned with the modern world.
No, I
And
totally get that. I so I'm 41 and when I started getting into metal was actually around the time I was like 9, 10, 11, and yeah, like seeing those things from like the 60s, 70s and 80s, talking here in the early to mid 90s and seeing how it is and then seeing it now 30 years later is totally insane to think of how things were different but possibly better then. But yeah, I mean, here's where we're doing this interview on Zoom, where this interview would have been written for a zine and it would have been a a typed out letter
yeah,
30 years ago.
yep, yeah.
But
So
so the nostalgia for wanting to put it on a typed out letter is totally rad too. I get that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I do like, or at least use like a lot of modern technology, but I try to see it as a vessel for conveying old
Sure.
school ideas.
No, sure, absolutely. And it's like use the technology that you have at hand to the best of your ability of what you can use it for. But ultimately, it's really about what you're using it for to connect with other people.
Yeah.
So, if you were a superhero, what signal would be flashed in the sky to call you?
Well, I do like this rising sun symbol that's on the bandana, and which I also have on shirts sometimes. So maybe that symbol, but then maybe there would come also Japanese soldiers
Nice.
answering the call, but
I somehow knew that it was going to be, the rising sun. I totally dig that. Yeah, I think I'm the same way. Like for me, it'd probably be something like a skull or some weird shit. But yeah, the rising sun I could totally see, and here comes the amazing guitars and with it. So, um, what are a few staple foods that you have to always have in your house?
well, one thing I try to always have at hand is, are you familiar with the food item called quark?
No.
It's a dairy product. It's called kvarg here in Sweden, and it's I don't know if I can explain it in English, or I hardly even remember the process in Swedish, but it's a sort of, it's not cottage cheese and it's not like milk, but it's somewhere in between, you could say. It's a protein rich thing that's pretty cheap, and it's kind of the basis for people here who kind of want to maintain a high protein intake.
Okay, so it's like it's like the whey
Yeah,
and with like the curds in it. Yeah. So yeah, so if you're saying it's like cottage cheese, but it's a little bit more milky.
or it's smoother than cottage cheese. It doesn't have those creases in it, so to speak. It's more like an even surface for the
Oh
most part.
wow, that's cool. That sounds awesome. What's another?
um, I I mean, when the basic stuff to have at home, then I mostly think of like quite like cheap stuff that you can use for a long time. And I usually have sunflower seeds and I have pumpkin seeds, and that's what I like to have in the kvari, for example, or in like oatmeal porridge things.
Ooh.
And yeah, and well, chicken and broccoli I usually also have all the time. And I
Hell
like to eat
yeah.
raw broccoli. I eat like 300 grams of broccoli each day raw. It's like the perfect little snack, I think.
Hell yeah. Definitely. Um, what is the coolest thing you've ever done at a job?
Coolest thing I've done at a job. Hmm. Well, I did think that my job as a proofreader at a book publishing company was pretty cool, and I, as a part of it, well, it wasn't a work task that I was assigned, but I could use their book printing equipment,
Oh,
like,
yes.
so I did print my very own book with my own short stories in, I don't know, it was 3 copies maybe. Gave one away to a friend for his birthday, and I have one, and I can't remember where the third one went, but yeah, printing my own hardcover book was a pretty cool thing I was able to do.
Dude. Oh my gosh. Yes. I had a friend who worked at a print press also.
Yeah,
And we would download PDFs of of like game manuals
yeah,
for like D&D and stuff like that. We would download the digital versions of them. And this is like back in the day. This is like 2005 or 6.
yeah.
And we would do that and we would bind them at his place of employment. And we would make our own manuals and everything, our own bootleg manuals, so we didn't have to spend like the $40 per book.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
I,
you know, a lot of that was covered under like open gaming license stuff. But yeah, I totally have done that. That's so rad though, that you have an actual published version of your stories and things.
yeah.
Now, a little bit of side tangent. Would that ever be something that you would ever look to do with the band? Create like a side text book or graphic novel with the band and tie it into the to the music?
I had not actually thought of that particular idea, but I am I am of the philosophy that as long as you have the energy and the aptitude, you should try to maximize the stuff that you do with your band. I mean, incorporate other stuff than just writing and playing music. And
Sure.
that could be such a thing. But then it comes a bit to the end time and energy question, maybe, because there is already so much things that I'm doing. So I'm not sure I would kind of have the time and energy to embark on a project like that. But definitely, I would like do some more writing because in connection with the music, because yeah, well, I do write lyrics, but it's kind of doesn't, it's not the same as writing prose,
Writing
so to
them.
speak. So
Sure. No, you're
um,
absolutely right.
since
See,
I
that would
am,
be totally cool.
yeah, since I
I could,
consider myself to be a good writer, I a better writer than I am a heavy metal lyric writer, I would say. So it's a bit of a shame that it doesn't like come to its fullest blossoming, so to speak.
sure. No, you're absolutely right. And I think it's interesting to get bands that do write cohesive narrative stories as as music. But sometimes when you're in that band, it can be very hard. I get it because I've been in that band before where I had like a drummer who could write and he still can write. And but it's like the Bruce Springsteen mentality where it's like the highway's jammed with broken heroes on a last chance power drive is one
Yeah,
line of lyric in a
mm,
song
yeah,
and is sang as such. And that's how he writes. And it's
yeah,
like, dude, I'm like talking like Max Cavalera, Symptom of the Universe, broken English, fucking take everything out that doesn't need to be there.
yeah,
but
yeah,
but yeah, it is sad sometimes to not be able to do both. I get what
mm,
you're saying that
yeah.
with that.
Because I've like been in a couple of other genres in my youth and written lyrics like for other forms of metal, which I found a lot easier to write. I mean, heavy metal lyrics to me is still a bit of a mystery. I think it's kind of hard to find the level you're supposed to be at. I mean, it can't be too complicated. It can't be too simple. It can't be too literal. It can't be too like symbolic. I'm struggling with it, like each song exactly where to like put the
Sure.
bullseye.
Sure, and it is hard. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize of how hard it actually is. That a lot of these songs that you hear could have been 6 to 8 months of intense work or longer. I mean, some of these songs go into years for people. But I mean, it's not just like there was a skit a long time ago where somebody was making fun of Metallica saying he's like these songs that we spent roughly 24 to 48 hours composing for you people. It's like, dude, that's like hardcore because it's like, again, this could be stuff, years of repressed memories that finally fucking break free. And you
Yeah,
have this plethora of ideas that come out. So that's something else though. But it's time for last meal and last advice. This is a new conjoined segment of two things, two questions. One is what would be your last meal, and two, what would be your advice you would give to newer up and coming musicians or any
yeah,
musician for that matter.
yeah. So for the last meal, well, I, I cannot really say anything other than that hamburgers is the absolute best food that I know in the world, and um, my favorite place, or at least the one that's closest to my heart, is in my old hometown, Skellefteå, and it's a place that used to be called Frasses, and is now called Big Smile, and they have a sort of, should you say, dish that is called skrovmål, which consists or rather a super skrov, which is two 150-gram burgers in a bun, in the same cardboard box as the French fries. And you get free stuff on the French fries, like parsley, butter, and raw onion is my favorite. and then you eat it with a knife and fork. And so for my last meal, I would want one last super skrov from Big Smile.
Hell yes. That sounds amazing. And I have never thought to put onions on fries before, but I don't like onions and potatoes personally, but
Yeah.
it might be something that I dig. I might have to try that.
Yeah. Yep. And so for the advice to up and coming bands, um, well, I know that we had like a common acquaintance, Dylan Nightingale.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's managed to put together a band in the area where he lives, and
Yes.
I
He
understand
actually lives about 2 hours south of me.
there's been like some difficulty in finding members because of like wanting to keep it in the same geographical location.
Sure.
And I'm kind of wondering, like, if you have a very like a bit of a different idea than most musicians around you, I think that if you want to stick to your idea, maybe it is best to look in a wide area for like-minded people. I mean, we have done that, and it has led to us not being able to get together very often, and it has taken a long time between the stuff that we've done. But other than that, it has only been positive, I would say.
Sure.
And so that's one of the pieces of advice I would give, that I think the like-mindedness is more important than physical proximity.
Yes, I would agree with that. Um, like-mindedness is something that, that is priceless. Whereas, yeah, you might not be able you might, if you're getting to be able to put out the best quality material for for your band, that's what's important. Everything else comes with it. The shows, the being able to tour, all of that comes with it. And I do know that they're fairly young. They're in their early 20s. And it is harder for younger people to do that. And they do try to look for the people that they could be, in that band, that those brothers and sisters of music together.
Yeah,
And that's just like with Ice Howl, the other band that I am in, other than Overload. Overload is strictly Louisville, Kentucky. We are right there. Bam. We get together once a week. With Ice Howl, we might get together once a month because we all live 2 hours apart from each other.
yeah,
So, but that 2 hours apart, yeah, we've got the message and we can send ideas back and forth now with breakneck speed. But yeah, broaden your horizon, look towards other cities. Yeah, you might only be able to get together with that person once a month, but it might be more intense and more worth it.
yeah. And
I have Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say that it might sound like a cliche, but the thing about like following your heart and don't listen to what anyone else says and believe in your idea and stuff, like that is for me what separates the two types of bands I was mentioning earlier, the ones that are kind of uh, not getting anywhere, and like who like the audience must also feel that a band that doesn't believe in what they're doing is dull,
Sure.
and like they don't have anything going for them. So I believe that even if your idea is strange or does not appeal to the broadest public, then the ones that do appreciate what you're doing will appreciate it that much more. And I think that that will have like more meaning to you as an artist than if more people like see you but shrug their shoulders.
Right. Absolutely. So I have one more question, but before we get into it, as always, links are listed below. So please give us likes, shares, and follows. Go smash those buttons, subscribe to the pages, do all of the things and all of the stuff. Go to the Bandcamp pages and buy merch. Go see these guys when they're going to be playing shows. Go do the things and all of the stuff, as I say every single week and have for the last 5 years in some kind of rendition of that or another. Dude, Tomas, thank you so much. This has been awesome. On our way out, do you have any shout outs or anything else you would like to promote today?
Well, yeah, I would want to wish the best of luck to the guy I just mentioned, Dylan Nightingale, and his band Treason. And
For
I
sure.
hope,
Soon to be
hope-
on the Metal Forge and playing another big goddamn metal show in October promoted by the Metal Forge.
yep, that sounds good. Well, and of course, people who have heard my fiance Jody on the one of your previous
Sure.
podcast with the band Jupiter or Metal of Jupiter, which I'm also in. Of course, check out our music if you're interested.
Definitely. Shout out to Joe. Met her at Legions of Metal. She was totally rad. And it was like, we need to have you on the Metal Forge. And she
Yep.
ended up having Icehouse vocalist Zeba on her podcast, Joe Gammel's Rock Goddesses, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure to be here on
Yeah,
your podcast.
sure. My final question of the day is, if we live in such a civilized world, why do you think that we have so much of a distinct line between rich and poor?
Hmm. Well, I do believe that people have a tendency to take the opportunity to improve themselves as much as possible, and that also means financially. So I think that as soon as there is a system where that is possible to do, and like it will it will always turn out like that unless there is some system in play that forces equality, which then would perhaps not be very good either. So I think that as long as some people are able to like maximize themselves in perhaps a competitive market, then those people will turn out on top, and there will inevitably be those that turn out quite the opposite.
For sure. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like it's such a volatile system everywhere where, you could tip the balance in either direction, whether it's, making a completely fair society of everything could be just as harmful as, you know, the 1984 version of society, I guess. So it's kind of, I think, where it needs to be, which is kind of a weird thing to say. So, which is interesting also. But dude, Tomas, thank you so much for being on the Metal Forge this week. This has been super rad and super fun. On our way out today from Warlords, what do you want to play?
I will I will not choose perhaps the most easy listening song, but I will choose my personal favorite, which is Mutant March.
Oh yeah. Dude, like such awesome titles like Tyrants in Tokyo, Mutant March, Wasteland Warriors. I love the titles for this. This is such awesome stuff. You heard him. This is Mutant March. Yeah.
Cold and dark place, realm of the deep. There instinct is the leader of the guild. And today the mutants march. Mutants rising from the sea. Mutants marching mindlessly. Brave the new world with a fiery stride, and what you stirred is multiplied. Out of the dark, out of the universe, stand up and bark. Conscience for better or for worse. And today the mutants march. Mutants rising from the sea. Mutants marching mindlessly. Mutants watching from the tree. Mutants, behold their you and me. And we sold, reaped, and we conquered. Called the niches names, just like we outgrew the oceans. The earth became a cave. When you have seen as a shadow passing away, one child clasp hands and pray. When you have seen emerge from that dark mire, one martyr ringed with fire. Tale of creation, image of God, art of destruction, painted in blood. Stormers and warriors.
45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week, located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out. Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttatoosandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing. Hey metalheads, after going to a rager, what's your ultimate go-to? Mine is totally pizza. So when Overload is playing, or I'm promoting the Metal Forge live showcases, or the big goddamn metal show, I go to Pizza DoNisi. Pizza DoNisi is gourmet artisan pizza from right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It features things like the pizza of the month, the sandwiches, and also vegetarian and vegan options, which is so totally fucking cool for all of it's awesome pizza. You definitely want to go. Hey, and also from time to time they do cannolis. Oh, so fucking good. You know what they said, man? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, just like that in Godfather. They're located right next to the Mag Bar at 1396 South 2nd Street. So either stop in or call in at 502-213-0488. They're open till midnight. The witching hour.
Heineken, fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Hey metalheads, you all hear me talk about Mag Bar all the time. It is the home to the Metal Forge live showcases and is an integral stop in the ultimate underground metal tour schedule. They obviously feature live music, but the Mag Bar also has daily specials like Pint and Slice Night on Tuesdays with Pizza DoNisi. But they also do Bring Your Own Vinyl on Thursdays with DJ Kent Jackson, and Finer Things Sundays. Located right next to Pizza DoNisi at 1398 South 2nd Street, open 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. Get your asses out to the Mag Bar. Rock out. In 2017, one man's vision and passion for all things metal started out as a record store in his house. Years later, the fight against a mainstream empire continues as Shadebeast. An independent metal collective and online store based in Athens, Georgia, is the world's premier heavy metal brand for music heads that value authenticity over the mainstream acceptance. Featuring original t-shirts from some of the best underground artists, as well as stickers, posters from the Shadebeast Presents concert series. Unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles and small curated selection of vinyl and cassettes from the masters old and new. Visit shadebeast.com and enter promo code SithLord for free domestic shipping on your first order, whether you're a new customer or returning. And be sure to join the Shadebeast social groups on Facebook and the interwebs to keep up with the new release announcements and talk all things metal and Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and filth.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine! An independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Set back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE10 to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.